Hey folks, this is Riker, bringing you a Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls 2.1 guide to a new top fire-based Demon Hunter build. Patch 2.12 has changed up the Demon Hunter significantly, and the build that I'm going to show you right now is one that was used to top the leaderboards on the public test realm, and has also been topping the leaderboards now that the patch is live. There are also cold and lightning Demon Hunter builds that have been making it onto the leaderboards, and over the coming days and weeks, I plan on covering all of them, as well as refining this current build, which will without a doubt see some changes as new ideas and new strategies emerge. So be sure to check back in the future for all these updates. In the meantime, let's bring up the skills. I call this build the Crossfire build, and I call it that for two reasons. First, because it's fire-based, and second, between yourself and your 5 sentries that you're gonna have firing off multi-shot arrows everywhere, anyone on screen is getting caught in the crossfire. Just like any endgame Demon Hunter build, this is a Marauder build. You need to have 5 pieces of Marauder, but we'll get to the individual pieces of gear later. While we are fire-based, we are going to use Sentry Polar Station, and this is so that with proper placement, you can keep your enemies under chill effects, so that you can proc your Cull the Weak passive and your Bane of the Trapped gem, which we'll get to later. Our main attacking skill will be Multi-Shot Arsenal. What we're actually aiming for is rocket damage rather than fire damage, but we're picking a fire-based rocket skill, as opposed to, say, Cluster Arrow Maelstrom, due to reasons of resource management. Once again, when we get to gear, we'll explain why we picked fire. On to the next skill, we have Vengeance Seethe. Yes, that may be a physical rune, but we're only picking that for the hatred management. While it's activated, you gain 10 hatred per second. Next, we have Companion, Bat Companion. The rune selected really doesn't matter. The reason I've highlighted Bat Companion is to explain that you're going to be using this not so much as an attack buff with the Wolf rune, but as an instant gain 50 hatred skill. Demon Hunters run very thirsty, and these 3 skills at the bottom, 1 through 3, I rotate on cooldown in order to manage my hatred. Next skill, Preparation Punishment. Very simple, restore 75 hatred. Between these 3 skills, Preparation, Companion, and Vengeance, plus with the other items we're going to mention, you should very rarely be running out of hatred. In the beginning, you may find yourself burning through your hatred very quickly, but as you get accustomed to the learning curve, you will adapt and learn to time your cooldowns. Next, we have Vault Tumble. Tumble is a fantastic skill for evading damage. Tumble reduces the discipline cost. Some people go with Trail of Cinders, but frankly, the 300% fire damage over 3 seconds is peanuts compared to the amount of damage you're otherwise throwing out. Onto the passives, Custom Engineering will up your sentry count, and the more sentries you have, the more damage you're dealing. Cull the Weak, 20% additional damage against enemies who are slowed or chilled. That's why we have Polar Station. Awareness is just about essential in the higher greater rifts. And then of course we need ballistics. This is a rocket build. This doubles your rocket damage. Onto the items, you want your 5 pieces of Marauder plus your Ring of Royal Grandeur. The 5 pieces will be helm, shoulder, gloves, pants, and boots. You won't be getting the Marauder's chest, instead you'll be getting a Cinder Coat. Cinder Coat buffs your fire damage and reduces the resource cost of fire skills. There's no other item like this in the game. The Pride's Fall Helm reduces resource costs by something like 1/3, but it doesn't buff damage. If you're dealing more damage, that means you have to shoot less to kill an enemy. And if you're shooting less, you're using up fewer resources, which means you need less resource cost reduction. Cinder Coat wins out over Pride's Fall any day. Plus, Pride's Fall, while it may be great for the cold build, since there is no cold equivalent of a Cinder Coat, is situational. It only procs sometimes. Cinder Coat works 100% of the time. You can gamble for a Cinder Coat really easily at Kadala, and to improve your odds of getting a Cinder Coat, gamble with a level 70 monk, as explained in this video here. Next piece of essential gear, Reaper's Wraps. You can craft these, that's what makes them so great. You want fire damage, dex, vitality, and crit chance. And the reason we want Reaper's Wraps is because health globes restore primary resource. You're going to be vaulting around to grab those health globes to restore hatred. Next mandatory item, of course, the Ring of Royal Grandeur. Ideal stats, dex, crit damage, socket, and attack speed because you have no choice. You'll be rolling off the life per hit and not the attack speed. Next mandatory item, the Bombardier's Rucksack Offhand. This gives you 2 additional sentries. And the new Marauder's bonus, will have your multi-shot deal 100% more damage for every active sentry. With the rucksack and the custom engineering passive, you will have 5 sentries deployed pretty much at all times. And you definitely want to roll multi-shot damage on that rucksack. Apart from that, for your other ring, if you're playing in a group, Stone of Jordan will be best in slot. If you're playing solo, you want the double unity setup. 1 unity for yourself, 1 for your follower, and you equip the follower with that token that makes him invulnerable. On your helm, you want multi-shot damage. On your boots, you want multi-shot damage. And apart from that, as much as possible, you want to stack crit chance, crit damage, and resource cost reduction. As for your weapon, you want something that's heavy hitting but slow. That's why you're going to ideally want a 2-handed crossbow. The faster you're attacking, the faster you're burning through your hatred. You want to shoot fewer times, but make each of those shots count for more. Faster attack speed doesn't help you when you have no hatred left. For your legendary gems, you're going to want Bane of the Trapped, because that'll further increase your damage against slowed enemies. Then as for the other 2, there's some debate. The 3 choices I'd recommend would be either Bane of the Powerful, Zay's Stone of Vengeance, and the Enforcer gem. A level 25 Bane of the Powerful will give you 15% increased damage against elites. The Enforcer gem will increase the damage of your sentries, but most of your damage is coming from you now. It'll be a rare case in which you'll have all 5 sentries in position to hit your targets. As you're moving through a level, you're generally going to leave some behind you, and while they'll still continue to buff you as long as they're deployed, they'll be too far away to actually attack your target. So while the Enforcer gem is still helpful, it's not mandatory as it once was. As for Zay's, that has the potential to be the single best Demon Hunter legendary gem. You get a tremendous damage increase if you can maintain half a screen's distance away from your enemy. This just requires a lot more skill and strategy on the player's part. That wraps up this guide. Thanks for watching. Check back in the future for updates to this guide, as well as the new cold and lightning builds. And if you enjoyed this video, share it with friends, leave a comment, hit like, come by my Twitch stream to game with me, and subscribe to join Rikers Raiders.